This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, welcome along to another Friday, folks. How's it been for you? Been working hard, getting ready for beer o'clock, I imagine. Well, in fact, beer o'clock is probably a few hours ago. Hope you've had an opportunity to have something to eat and do all those good things. Back to 7:30 tonight, Queensland time, just because I had a few things that I had to deal with today. Did you have an opportunity to catch up with the Ainsley Bullion interview that I did yesterday with Paul? Finally got it loaded up today. Had a few little issues getting the thing loaded for some reason. Tried to use this software in a different way, and it didn't really enjoy it. So at any rate, that's up on Nun2K. It may not be up on the channel that you're watching. If you're not watching YouTube's Nun2K channel at the moment, then it won't be there. It's also not up on YouTube, on Rumble, or on Project Matilda, although I'm in the middle of uploading to Project Matilda. So we'll see how that goes shortly. Have a look at it if you want to learn about gold and silver and where to buy it. Ainsley Bullion, one of a number of companies in Australia that you can deal directly with, and they're very good. They're like any precious metal dealer. It doesn't matter which one you go to. They're just going to give you what the metal's worth. There may be other ways and means of getting a bit more dollars out of your silver. We'll discuss that with Paul and a few other things. So go and check that one out. That's already on the Nun2K website, and will be up on Project Matilda. Let me have a quick look. Very soon. It's still having a bit of a slow time of it at the moment. So we are asking it to do a fair bit at the moment with streaming, and basically I've got every aerial I own out at the moment trying to get a decent signal. So hoping that lasts, because otherwise you're going to be left on a Friday night with Larrikins 1 and 2. Greetings, boys. Lovely to see you as part of us this evening. And Larrikin 3, who joins us from his abode somewhere all deep in New South Wales and the ACT. How are you, gentlemen?
Very good. Thank you, Carl. How are you?
It's been an exciting week. I mean, not as exciting as yours, Mark. Do you want to tell us about your week? You were telling us off the air before how heavy it's been.
Mowing lawns.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
flat out, mate.
Flat out mowing lawns.
Yeah.
Trying to earn that money.
You think I'm being facetious? I'm not. Business is going well for people at the moment in the lawn mowing business right around the place. Hello to Bugsy in Mount Gambier. Now, provided you can get in and do it, what's the rain been like in your part of the world? Is the grass still growing at an exponential rate? I mean, are you having trouble keeping up with it?
Yeah, seriously, it's actually ridiculous how much it's growing. It's nonstop. People are calling me in between. Are you coming this week? Are you sure you're coming? Are you sure you're coming?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be there.
Right.
It could be something to that Bosie's theory of their spraying some fertilizer. It could be something like that. Who knows? We've just had so much rain here in Newcastle that it would be growing probably anyway. But there's could be something to it. Who knows? But like it just rained again 2 days ago here. It's just been raining.
Yeah, I believe that they've stitched up the Gold Coast again today. Another 6 or so flights down that way, some pretty interesting information coming out of my contacts on the Gold Coast. We might get into that a little bit later on. I'll see if I can load up some of the imagery that he sent through. But the Commonwealth Bank are pretty insistent at the moment that if you are looking to change your accounts, modify your accounts, or even verify your accounts, there is a questionnaire you need to go through, and it wants to know ins and outs of every part of you, all, of course, so that they can protect you better using a digital ID. So don't smoke, kids. It's bad for you. In fact, I won't smoke. I'll put it out. He had a very interesting experience today with them, and sent me through some images that were snapped off the website. So I'll see if I can suck those in and talk about it. Galactic Cans 1 and 2 in Canberra. I neglected to give you your individual introductions. On the left, we have Bradford. On the right, we have Rob. And somewhere floating around will be the wonderful Neo. How has Canberra been this week, boys?
Cold. It's still winter here.
Yeah. Bloody cold.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely
Bloody
ridiculous.
cold. So the politicians are in town. I think they're sitting at the moment. There have been some pretty big revelations, particularly in Victorian parts, about voter. Well, what would you call what's happening in Victoria at the moment with regards to the way that it is possible to skew the vote in Victoria? And did you find it interesting that Mr. Drury, I think his name is Glenn Drury, has come out and essentially explained it all? I don't know that he meant to explain it all and have it all go public like that, but there are a lot of questions that need to be answered about him or from him, and I'm wondering whether or not the media have actually got a hold of it yet. It's a huge scandal. Pay $55,000 a seat. Essentially, he'll guarantee you that you'll get a seat.
That's right.
I don't know. What are your thoughts, boys?
How do we raise 50 grand?
Yeah. Can we crowdfund that?
Yeah.
But it's exactly consistent with what's been happening, where it's exposing how the system works, whether we're seeing over in the America at the moment. We'll discuss that later. But again, it's exposing how our system works. And even that same Peter Credlin story we're talking about with Dan Andrews, exposing how the whole Labor Party and all these factions and all these deals, these backroom deals, which are all done, and with other unions and all these different things. That's how our paradigm will change, will shift, is by educating people and changing the way everybody thinks and their understanding.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we all grew up in the Star Wars culture and background from kids. So we want the rebellion to come screaming in on the in the Falcon and blow up the Death Star, and boom, we win, and Princess Leia's putting medals on us all. But unfortunately, that would cause horrendous collateral damage, and people aren't ready for that sort of thing. So we have to change the mentality and the way our consciousness is, and as people understand more how, and it's exposed more how these systems are so corrupt and how they actually work, well, then we can then actually have a adult conversation about it and change it. Blockchain elections. Bring on blockchain elections.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're saying that the quantum phones that we're all meant to be getting will have just that, the ability to vote and be tracked, be guaranteed that your vote is counted using quantum computing. These phones are apparently not too far into our future, so I'm holding off. I'm not going to get the new Apple iPhone, whatever it is now. I'm just going to wait a little bit longer and see what happens. The big concern for people in Victoria has been, and we've been down there, guys. We spent, I spent a little bit longer than you guys in Victoria, but on and off, better part of 3 weeks we spent down there, and the feeling of everybody that we ran into was Dan Andrews is never going to be re-elected. There is no way in hell that he can win a seat. I'm sure Darren Bergwerf would agree that while Frankston is held, pretty strongly by Labor, he is in there, for a very good fight, for the independent fight. Will this exposure of how the voting system works actually make any difference on the day? I mean, that really interesting piece for me that Glenn Jury divulged, that the Sack Dan Andrews Party is actually one of his covers. Ingenious it is, because people will just see that and vote. If you're going to vote, instead of drawing a dick on your vote, you might see, Sack Dan Andrews, I'll vote for that, and tick that, and all of a sudden you find out that you're actually essentially voting for somebody who's going to work with Dan Andrews, and all his preferences are going to go to Dan Andrews, whether he wins, loses, or draws. That must be, I hope, an eye-opening experience for Victorians. It'll also make, I hope, Victorians more aware, and Australians broadly, but Victorians, because they have this quirky little voting chink that they use there, and it's the only state in Australia where it can be used. I think we need to be looking at it from a broader perspective, Australia-wide, in the federal election, because these tactics that are used in state elections, like what's being used in Victoria, can also be used in other ways, other spheres of influence, I believe, in the federal and other state elections. Let's not get me started on Queensland's state elections, because there's one or two things there we'd love to discuss at a later stage, I'm sure. So Dan Andrews and Victoria, hopefully their eyes are opening up. Dan Andrews is on the way out. What do you think the chances are of the vote, now the Victorians have had their eyes open to the process a little bit, and knowing a vote for the Sack Dan Andrews Party is really a vote to keep Dan Andrews in power? How do you wake people up? The elections next weekend. So got to try and do something.
It's got to be the media that wakes people up. It's not, it's not much we can do. We've done everything we can do. We're here to help the people who have woken up. It's now up to the media. Like Ricardo has said, they've got to hear it from Stan, whatever his name is. I don't know. Stan Grant. Stan Grant, or Stefan Karvolnovic, or whatever his bloody name is, and for them to believe it. And it was interesting on, I think it was the Today Show, the morning show with Carl and that other blonde girl. I don't know what her name is, but she was asking Dan Andrews, so we haven't seen much about the C word this week. And Dan Andrews then started talking about COVID. And then she said, well, actually, that's not the C word I was talking about. I was talking about corruption. So, it's moments like that we need more of.
Yeah, I think it gets back to the whole premise that the system itself is broken. And that if we keep relying and trusting on the system to save us, it's just going to keep going the wrong way. I think people need to be prepared to see Dan Andrews stay in power, keep his seat, and then that's another wake up moment to show people that once again the system is broken and we need to change everything. The whole thing needs to be changed. It needs to, like Bosie says, start from the beginning. I think we've all been saying it through the whole movement of everything and what we've been following, doing our thing too. We need to get rid of everybody in power, say the system is broken, and how do we build a new one? Build a new one next to it. That's the hard thing. How do we get out of it with the new system? We don't know. And I think it gets to that we can't win without everybody figuring out what's going on. But that gets back to another election can go the wrong way. We take the scenic route, we kick over another stone, and we go, oh, look, there's more corruption there. It wakes up a whole lot more people, and we're going, like you said before, we're going on that slow rollout journey.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where you get that 100th monkey effect, and everyone then realizes, oh, shit, we've been duped.
The Berlin Wall moment.
Yeah, the Berlin Wall moment, exactly. So
there's a great little show that's been going around where a podcast or something or other, and the guy says, if you picked 10 average people in the street and you got them to play 5-on-5 basketball for $10,000 and there's no referee, do you think they might cheat?
that's only 10 grand.
10 grand. So what do you reckon it is for this? Yeah, you bet they all cheat.
Of course they're going to cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's on such multiple layers. Like as you said, we're looking in Victoria and seeing how they're doing it in these party factions and these backroom deals and preference deals and all these things. And then there's all the dodgy stuff that goes on with the shenanigans of old people's homes and dead people and all these sort of things, which they're manipulating stuff. But yeah, that's all small scale. Now look what they exposed in America with that FTX, where they're using that to launch money through back into the Democratic Party.
There was a meme.
So this is just
there was a really good meme I saw that kicked that to the next level, and it said, you think the FTX scandal is bad with how it's all connected, and it said, wait till you see the Jekyll Island. Wait till you figure out Jekyll Island.
Oh wow!
Wow. Okay.
It's like okay, it's like that's and that's what we've got to get to. Like we've all known that stuff. We've been looking at that kind of stuff for years now.
Yeah,
and we're kind of waiting for everybody to catch up and be like, okay, we're all on the same page now.
Got to admit, I haven't heard too many people talking about Jekyll Island.
It's a blast from the past.
Yeah. Like that, and that's literally that, and that's the corruption of the system. That was when they introduced the corrupt banking system that we've been living under and keeps us as slaves forever, which keeps our inflation going and steals all our savings. It literally keeps us taxed. It keeps us in a system where every dollar that our government take or borrows is indebted from the start in a perpetual system that we can never get out of, because when we need to pay that dollar off, we got to borrow from the same bloke again.
Yeah,
which pay it on interest.
Yeah,
it's just designed to keep us as slaves. And until people figure out that the whole system is broken, like we were saying before, and all needs to be changed, then we're just going to keep peddling in this perpetual cycle of how do we get out of it?
Yeah. You mentioned the FTX scandal. If people aren't aware, FTX is a crypto that crashed. It was set up by a young bloke called Sam Bankman-Fried. He and 9 others lived in a very palatial place in the Bahamas up until very recently. Apparently, it's up for sale for $39 million if you're interested. It's gated community and it's behind. It's in the most luxurious part of town, so. That's available if you're up for it. Apparently recently vacated. You might want to wash the sheets. Apparently they were in a polyamorous kind of relationship. So
I almost don't believe that they were like that dude was involved in it. Like, do you reckon the chicks were going, I want a piece of Bankman? It's like, look at that. I mean, there's money. How far does money get you? Like, come on.
Well,
he was the youngest. Apparently, the youngest billionaire, $16 billion at the age, in his early 20s. So, funny. And you might be able to do anything you want with that sort of
cash.
What is it? Polyamorous relationship? Sure. No worries. Whatever.
For those of us that have had one wife, we've found that's probably enough. For those that have taken on like 4 or 5 women, and men the same way, for women too, who've had men the same way. I'm being stared at from across the screen here, and quite rightly so. No, I'm not going to say
16 billion. A lot of those problems, a lot of that stress that you're getting from one wife.
You'd think it would.
Made a few just like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
don't
anyway,
you also think that if there was a problem with... Don't you think that if there was a problem with this sort of trading, it might have been being noticed a lot more prior to the lead up to the election? Don't you think it's just interesting that all this happened on or about just after the election? All this started to crash down around their ears and all of it started to spin around and be exposed. I think this leads me onto the bit that where we talk about Trump and his announcement, his special announcement, as it was termed during the week. So I know you watched it, Rob and Bradford. Mark, you probably listened to it while you were mowing. I appreciate that. So, boys, I guess you were a bit disappointed, like the most of us, on first look at that speech. Now that you've had a day or two to digest it, what are your thoughts?
It was underwhelming. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was nothing that we hadn't heard before, and we knew that he was going to announce that he was running.
Yeah,
so that wasn't really a surprise. The thing that I did find interesting is he didn't actually tell you when he was running. There was no year mentioned.
No,
which I thought was curious.
I found that. I mean, there was signage that said Trump 2024. I would also point out that in 2015 there was a Simpsons episode.
Yeah,
and
2028 as well. It's flashed up.
Is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Yeah, right. So
that he was in.
Yeah, so that I think is very interesting. He was also introduced as the President of the United States, not former president or the 45th president. There were also 19 flags behind him.
Yeah.
Now that's a throwback to the true constitutional, if you like, military side of the American Constitution, and 19 flags is very significant. So we'll talk, I guess, then about Nancy Pelosi. There's a couple of levels here to talk about her, I suppose. In his speech, he said she was fired and out of the country.
Yes.
Now, it does seem a little weird, doesn't it, Mark, that they would use those sorts of terms. She was fired, yes, fired by the people, but he didn't say fired by the people. He said she was fired and out of the country. And where do we suspect she's been for quite some time? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that kind of, I mean, I don't dive into the speculation too much because I have no idea. People start going clones because she's been in the media for so long. So if we think she's been disappeared for a while, I start going, okay, you guys have your thoughts on that stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think she's fired. Yeah, it was perfect timing with her husband's stuff going down for her.
That's probably a bad term to use in regard to the husband.
The lubed hammer being thrown through the window.
I was wondering how you're going to explain that in the X-ray. How did that hammer get in there? Oh, it slipped and fell on it.
Yeah, it's a little bit. So the time, once again, the timing of that's insane. But I mean, but replacing her with McConnell to step a little bit the other way, he's in the club all the way. So is there really going to be much? Is there going to be much sort of change with him there? No, probably not. I don't know. I don't know. It's good to have Nancy gone. Hopefully, she is in a hole somewhere because she's a horrible human being.
Yeah. She though, well, it's a bit of a complicated, but there's a very good video from Mr. Reagan on Nancy Pelosi, and her family background. She comes from the Chicago Mafia, full on, like her father, full on Chicago Mafia. Heavily tied up in the Italian Mafia. And there's always been the old connection of the CIA, intelligence agencies. They were using the Italian Mafia back in those periods where modern day sort of stuff, they moved to more the Mexico cartels and Colombian, drug rings, cartels. Thank you. Yeah. So it's probably the end of a very corrupt person who has some. She's maintained that power of that gavel and maintained the power of the Senate. Or not the Senate, the House. Sorry. And all the money that she raises and all that stuff, she's well known for it, and controlling everybody. And my thought would be that is done because she has the power of the intelligence agencies behind her, the corrupt arm of it. The cabal, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, whatever pop culture term you like to call it.
Yeah,
the inbred families that rule the world.
And mentioning
Yes.
dinosaurs, I saw a video where you know how these AIs, you know how these AIs are drawing pictures. You give them a description and they'll draw a picture of it. Well, they said draw a picture of Nancy Pelosi, and it came up with it sort of looked a bit like Nancy Pelosi, but it looked more like a lizard. Interesting how an AI would get that.
Interesting.
Interesting.
All the media chat, that goes through all the social media and analyzes what everybody says.
Talking about.
And so many people call her
Do they? I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Maybe.
Everybody say hello to Anna. Anna is new.
Hello, Anna.
Hello, Anna.
So how Anna?
I'm new here. Oh, good on you, Anna.
Excellent.
That's Rob on the right. That's Bradford on the left. That's me waving at you. And that hairy-looking thing with the television behind him, that's the Lawnmower Man.
The Lawnmower Man.
Great movie.
That was a good movie.
It is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. In fact, I'm wondering now if that doesn't hold something for us. There are so many movies in the past. Anyway, that's another story. Tron is another one I'd like to rewatch. Blade Runner is another one. There's a few that I should watch now that my eyes have been opened a little further. I haven't watched them in years. Species, maybe also. Do you remember Species?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Movie. I remember that.
I'm thinking that there is half a chance with that.
The Omega Man. Good one to rewatch.
Yeah.
So still on the crypto scam and collapse there. The other aspect to it which was exposed was that he had a journalist who was who tweeted out saying that he had uncovered basically an Epstein-style ring that was going on there in the Bahamas within this crypto crowd, and it was again like an intelligence operation. So once again, it looks like we use the CIA, but it's the Five Eyes intelligence agencies are running these control operations, whether you're compromising people on an Epstein Island or you're controlling these kids who are running these these scam or exchange, but still, and then running all the money through Ukraine and through all the political parties, and ultimately, it's we should be looking at these Five Eyes intelligence agencies or a corrupt element of them and saying, hey, what are you doing? This is they ran the Russiagate scam to try and control who was president. They've then run.
Nobody's answered for that.
Yeah, they're trying to control who is the president. Why is that so? And
why has it been allowed to run? I think we're going to find out, guys. Have a watch of this. I'll just have to bring this up and then hit play here.
We're releasing a report today that details what we have uncovered. We're also sending letters to the Biden administration officials and Biden family associates renewing our request for voluntary production of documents relevant to this investigation. This is an investigation of Joe Biden, the President of the United States, and why he lied to the American people about his knowledge and participation in his family's international business schemes. National security interests require the committee to conduct investigation, and we will pursue all avenues that have long been ignored. Committee Republicans have uncovered evidence of federal crimes committed by and to the benefit of members of the president's family. These include conspiracy or defrauding the United States, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, violation of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, violations of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, violations of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, tax evasion, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The Biden family's business dealings implicate a wide range of criminality, from human trafficking to potential violations of the Constitution. In the 118th Congress, this committee will evaluate the status of Joe Biden's relationship with his family's foreign partners and whether he is a president who is compromised or swayed by foreign dollars and influence. I want to be clear. This is an investigation of Joe Biden, and that's where the committee will focus in this next Congress. We are releasing a report today that details what we've uncovered. We're also sending letters to Biden
Start it again.
officials and Biden.
Beg your pardon on that one. So what do you think, boys? That's a fairly wide-ranging report. They're going to also investigate Hunter Biden's laptop, I think, within an inch of its life. Of course, They've had a copy of the laptop now for some time. In fact, they were able to find a copy of the laptop contents much easier than the FBI, it seems. They also announced, and these were Republicans who are now going to be in control of major portions of the committees, at least, that are going to be set up, including the Judicial Committee, which I'm really intrigued and pleased to see Jim Jordan will be chairman of. I think that is going to be an extremely telling committee, and they are going to hold public hearings. And I dare say a lot of information is going to come via those committee hearings. Now, I don't know that they can be set up anytime soon, because it's my understanding that until January 6th at least, but possibly January 20th or 21st, those sitting in the current Congress and Senate stay there, while the newly elected types come to town and learn the ropes. Are you guys any more familiar with the American process than me, or is there anybody watching that is? Put it up in the comments. I'll see if I can catch it. Pretty sure that's how it works.
So I'm aware of that they don't have power until like January.
Yeah. So we're being told in other sources, I don't know if you've been told this, boys, but I've heard it 3 times today from 3 different sources, that this game is definitely afoot. The movie is playing out nicely, and the public part of it was essentially started with Trump's speech. Now, Trump's rallies have always been, and he's held
Oh, we've lost Carl.
Oh, we've lost Carl. Excellent.
Must be cold there. He's frozen.
Oh, yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah. Well, the good bit in that article he was just playing was that with these investigations, they'll get access to those banking records. We were talking about this earlier, where the Republicans have been doing the investigation into Joe and Hunter Biden and this money that's been coming in from China and the Ukraine, and it triggers these action reports, which I've forgotten the name all of a sudden, but these banking action reports where it's like here in Australia, if you move more than 10 grand, you get red flags. It's suspicious activity report. Well done, there we go. So it triggers these suspicious activity reports. Apparently, there's 150 of them, and normally both houses, both sides, the Democrats and Republicans, would have access to this. But Joe Biden changed the rules when he got into Parliament to stop the minor party getting access to these reports. So once they get access to them now, which once in January, they'll have access to them, and then they'll be able to actually show all the money being transferred from China and Ukraine and stuff to Joe Biden, the big guy, getting his Mr. 10%.
Mr. Big. That's it.
But yeah, so that will expose a lot more of how the system works and the corruption, because it's not just Joe Biden. Remember, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State when that was all going on, and Obama in control.
That's right. And they talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, but what about the what was his name? Hugh Aberdeen
emails.
Yeah, that's right. The guy sounds like a dick because he was done for child sex.
Someone in the comments. What's
Wiener.
Anthony Weiner.
Wasn't he he's the husband of Uma Abedin?
Abedin,
and that's where the file marked I don't know, life saving or whatever.
Yeah, and that's
life insurance.
And that file was Frazzledrip.
Yeah, that's right. The New York
that's
throwing up after watching it. It was so bad. Yeah, and some of them had mental breakdowns, and some of them mysteriously died of suicide.
Yes, 8 of them, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. And they were all so disturbed by what they saw, or the fact they were going to do something about it. There's been a lot of speculation recently too about Hillary Clinton's when they got Hillary Clinton. Like, when did they swap them out? You remember the leading theory is the day that she fainted as she was getting into a vehicle. She'd been to some event in New York, and a van pulled up, opened up the door, and she sort of collapsed, and they had to throw her in. That's the leading theory at the moment. that there were agents inside, and somebody else she recognised that she wasn't expecting to see, and she must have known the jig was up. So the swap was made apparently at Chelsea Clinton's apartment, where Chelsea had also been picked up. So interesting. All this speculation is now back in the media again, particularly about them. I haven't seen. I've got to figure out how to turn these bloody notifications off. They're driving me mad.
And do you remember today as well, Carl, that there was another Hillary that came out of her apartment with no security attachment whatsoever, came out and said she was okay. And then you look at her, and obviously it wasn't Hillary; it was one of her doubles. Yeah.
True. Question: have any of you guys heard about that Russia sent a Kh-55 to Ukraine, Kiev, in that 100 missile barrage? Short answer to that is no. I would have thought that if they had sent a Kh-55 to Kiev, it probably delivered itself, and we'd know that there was a big hole left there by it. So. No, it's interesting and good to see, now that you brought that up, good to see that Poland have come out and said, no, we understand now that it was actually the Ukraine firing US-made missiles, anti-missile missiles, if you like, that missed their target and blew up in Poland. It wasn't the Russians attacking Poland. Thank God for that. Yes, Marianne, I think you'll find that there are plenty of Victorians watching tonight. Hello to all the Victorians. Lovely people. We look forward to coming back soon. Darren Bergworth's having a party on the 10th of December. Have you heard about that? Huge. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what it's in aid of, but it's like a music festival, a concert. There will be music, bands, all good, singing, dancing, lots of mirth. That's of course presupposing Dan Andrews doesn't get elected, because you can be guaranteed if he does get elected, any dancing or gathering you'll do will be in your own lounge room. You'll have to be 1.5 meters apart and wear at least 2 masks to be safe from whatever the next iteration of the bug is. And then, of course, you will be asked to line up for your 5th and possibly 6th jabs in the very near future too. They've got some old stock they need to get rid of. I'm sure it'll be okay. No worries there. Let me have I put a couple of things up in here tonight, I thought, that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, the Victorian state elections. We were talking about those earlier. Did you see this one about the telephone operators? Since when are we allowed to vote by telephone?
Yeah.
They did that now in the last election in New South Wales.
Did they really?
Yeah. And the day before the election, they announced because of COVID, they're allowing another 20,000 votes or something to come through. It was they upped the numbers somehow of people working and the way they could take it in. I can't remember the exact detail of it, but they definitely did it in the New South Wales election. I remember driving home, listening to it on the radio, just going, "What? How are you supposed to scrutineer a phone vote?" It's just,
how is that anonymous?
And how's it anonymous when you've got to bring it up? Yeah, exactly right. Do all your
you verify that person actually did the right thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just can't help but think it leaves, the whole voting system open to a lot of dead people. A lot of dead people voting by phone.
Definitely. Yeah, easily.
Yeah,
I mean, I know Granddad died, and he might have died suspiciously, but he was old and he'd had a good life, and his heart just gave out. Okay, the mortician said they couldn't get the blood out of him, but that seemed a bit weird. But he would have wanted to vote for Dan. He thought Dan was good. He saved him. So that's the kind of thing. I'd pick up Granddad's phone and vote for him. He'd want me to do that.
Yeah.
Interestingly, that cartoon series that Pauline Hanson put out before the election, which was excellent, The only one that was actually banned was the one that pointed out that I think it was the 2010 election was won by less votes than the amount of people that voted more than once.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the only one that got banned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny that.
funny that.
Yeah. What a shock and surprise.
For all those people who voted by the phone, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
sorry. I was going to say
sorry, Mark, go ahead.
The point they on the radio, just to clarify what I was saying before, was they said there's been an extra 20,000 COVID cases reported, and because of that, we're opening up the phone lines because we know people don't want to go out mixing and da 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 da.
Of course.
Reported.
Of course. That's why. Yeah.
And that's why I was like, this is just insanity. But
Insanity. They can say anything
Used
to
it to
achieve
bring
it.
in a lot of things.
Yeah. The old problem, reaction, solution.
I don't know, David, that's actually going to happen unless it's what happens after the military trial. Let's talk about the military then. We talked about Trump. There were a lot of signals, I believe. He spoke in a lot of code on his speech on the 15th. Spoken a lot of code. He never announced he was running for president of or for election in 2024. He just said he was running for president of the United States of America. That would be the Republic of the United States of America that he would be referring to, I think, given that there are those 19 flags behind him. Now, we've been talking about him stepping into the role of House Speaker and then Biden stepping down after all of this exposure from the FTX scandal, the Hunter Biden scandal, and the other stuff that's going to come. Obviously, Kamala Harris will not step up, and because she'll be arrested as well. That leaves a straight run for Trump to be quite rightly put in as president, as he would be next in line as Speaker of the House. He can be elected to Speaker of the House because he is a Republican. The other thing is that having announced that he's running for the presidency, it makes it very hard for him to be arrested for anything. It's really a difficult thing to arrest a candidate for the presidency of America. So any sort of deep state plot that they had thought they might be able to get him with won't really happen. Also in the speech, he didn't distance himself by saying much. He distanced himself by what he didn't say. He didn't refer to the fraud of the election, the most recent midterm or the 2020 election thing that everybody has spoken about ad nauseum. He didn't refer to it at all. He only spoke about going forward. That sort of drew a line in the sand for me. It's more like a look over here, don't watch what's happening over here moment for me. And I think there was a number of those in that speech. It was, like you say, very ho-hum. He was always going to run in 2024. But it was the way he was introduced, the 19 flags in the background, a few of the things he said. He also referred to Joe Biden as already being shot, or had his last shot, I think was the reference there. Joe's had his last shot. I think there's also been a lot more favourable media, particularly of military in Australia. We've seen a lot more ships entering port. I'm not sure if she's still down there, but the USS Tripoli was in Hobart a couple of days ago. Now, I imagine she would still be there because when those boats come to town, that's a big, amphibious warship. They have a couple of thousand or more people on them, and they will come to town and go around and see the sights and do a few good deeds. That's usually what happens when the sailors come to town. Interesting, though, that there are also ships in Sydney, Brisbane, and I believe in Darwin. I believe there are a number of military ships off the coast of Queensland and off the coast of Western Australia. What we can't see are the submarines, and we're hearing that there are a lot of them floating around. We don't know who's driving them. We know a number of them are on our side. We know none of them are French-built or ours. We probably got one sub in the fight. I think the other 6 are either out for good or being used for parts to keep the other one operating. So there might be 2 operating. I might be being a bit disingenuous. But we don't really know who's in charge of those ones here yet. So there is obviously some interesting things happening in the leadership of the military at the moment too. And where is the Governor-General? You guys the other day were in town when the Governor-General's house was opened for the public to view. It isn't, something special that happens quite regularly, you guys said. I would have thought if there were ever an opportunity for the people to start taking back their buildings, starting at the Governor-General's place would have been ideal. Maybe we should have run an event to get a few thousand people to take up residence at Government House.
Yeah,
they have a lot of security there.
They do.
Yeah. They're well prepared for that one.
But there was some of the freedom fighters that went along incognito, and they told me that they went equipped with stickers and managed to place some stickers in some interesting locations around Government House.
Right.
So good on them for doing that. Yeah. Allegedly. Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah. Oh, very good. I am pleased to hear about that.
One of them even got a selfie with the GG himself, which she was quite proud of.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. She was flashing that around.
Poor old Phil. Every day, Phil, he only made it halfway down the driveway. And
they turned him around?
Yeah, they wrecked him straight away and nabbed him and went, "Nah, mate, you're not going anywhere near there."
Oh, well, good try, Phil. Bloody good try, mate. Well done.
It was definitely.
And g'day to the Canberra crew. I trust things are going all right for you, boys.
Can I just, when you were talking about Trump before and you're just saying how he could become Speaker, do you think he has enough support from the Republicans to do that? I mean, there's still a lot of rhinos left.
Mm-hmm.
I think by the time the possibility or the reality, if you like, of Trump being able to be elected Speaker is upon us, those rhinos will have been arrested along with the rest of the Democrats.
God, there's going to be no one left.
So there's going to be no one left. So it's going to be a pretty easy choice, and anybody who was going to step up and say, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea, Donald," would be a very brave person indeed. You've got to think that everybody would be, the military in particular, would be looking at them. So, I don't expect that it will be a standard kind of House battle election for that job. You talk about McConnell taking over. Well, I'm pretty confident that that's either an actor or a robot playing him. It's hard to tell the difference between the real him and a robot. I've always found him a very difficult, sort of funny sort of bloke to listen to, and duplicitous in every manner of the word. Guy just reeks untrustability. So I would expect he'll be arrested, along with quite a number of other. Well, I mean, what were the estimates? Between 75 and 95% of the Congress and the Senate arrested.
Yeah.
What do you think to the public? Because there's always got to be a public, there's always got to be a reason to the public for why these things are happening. What do you think they're going to try and sell if they go out and arrest all these people in one big foul swoop? how do you think they're going to sell that to the public? What story are they going to come up with? Because
I think it'll be exposing what's going on or what has happened. So a lot of them will get caught up in covering up for Hillary Clinton and for Obama, because they're all long-termers. They've been there. They know all the secrets, all that kind of thing. They've been paid off it. I mean, they've all gone in as paupers and come out as millionaires, and still growing millionaires. So we have the same problem here with our Australian politicians. They all go in as paupers and, boots on the ground workers and come out millionaires. How's that? How do you do that on a backbencher's salary?
They're just good at trading. That's all.
Yeah, really good at trading.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that will be cleaned up by the military, and then it'll be, well, here's what's left. Trump is running for president. He was already the president. We're giving him the presidency back now, or at least we're going to oversee it for the next 3 months while you guys run elections again. And fill your Congress and Senate up with people who aren't going to try and rob you, steal from you, kill you, poison you, rape you, murder you, drink your blood, all sorts of different shit.
And that's why I think that we'll go back to the false election. I don't know if I'm not sure about. I respect your theory, but I'm not sure if I'm sold on it yet, just because I'm not sure how it would play out. And that's why I think what you said, I think why we might go back to the election, because that's where we can say, okay, Trump was fouled. He was the true president, rather than just say, not just say you're on before or you're running next and that kind of thing. That way we. So
you remember that raid that the FBI made on Mar-a-Lago and took away all these boxes of supposedly documents that he shouldn't have had. The thing about that is that they didn't go through and itemize everything in those boxes. They did go and just say that box, all of those boxes, everything else, load them in a truck. They wrote down the box numbers, gave everything a number, and took it all away. Now, they'll go through those boxes, you would think, as part of the investigation into whatever bullshit thing they were investigating. But I think that all of the information about that election and all of the proof is inside those boxes. And because they've been taken under warrant, it makes them admissible in court. Now, that doesn't mean that the FBI have to bring them up, or whoever's prosecuting Trump. That means that Trump's people can bring that up and then say, well, what about these, in the evidence that you took from Mar-a-Lago? What about these documents? And they could well be documents that these people never even bothered looking at, because they found enough other shit they thought they were going to get him on, because they're that stupid and that lazy. So I think a lot of that exposure might come through there, and all the military. Yeah, because that's essentially military gathered intelligence. So the military will be called, I would suspect, to explain it.
I've had a long running theory of my own where I think we're going to see Space Force come into play in some way in this.
I do too. Well, we're still looking for the destruction of 39 satanic sites around the world, aren't we?
Possibly. But I think even with the election results style, I think they might have been running and gunning and watching the whole thing and recording the whole thing.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And they can just come out and say, there you go. That's the result.
Cyber Command had full control of everything, I think, watching everything. I've seen some reports where they've said as early as 2 hours into some booths in Los Angeles, they saw that there was a 35% discrepancy coming out of a couple of these booths. So they had people on the ground in those booths and had these machines investigated and found they were connected to a Wi-Fi connection. And a couple of those machines, I believe, were seized, and the data logs were accessed, so they know who had access to the machine, what they changed. And clearly it was a fairly significant change to see such a large discrepancy so early on. So something happened there. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that. They will have, once again, they will have microdotted every ballot. They will have tracked every ballot. They'll know whether it wound up in landfill or wound up in a ballot box via, one person's, kitchen table where they filled it in, or whether it got collected out of a bunch of mailboxes and taken back to one place where they were all filled in and then appropriately dumped at 2 o'clock in the morning. Like we saw what happened in 2000 Mules. So, I think a lot of these obstructions that we see at the moment will fall away quite rapidly with the exposure of, and I think FTX is just the beginning. FTX is going to bring down the Democratic Party. Joe Biden will go down, but I think he will go down not just for that, but he will also go down for the Hunter Biden laptop. Hunter Biden, of course, will go down on in history as one of the most decrepit human beings known to man. And there is plenty of evidence of that on there too. I wouldn't be at all surprised to find that there is Obama evidence on Hunter Biden's laptop at some point. There has been talk about that. There is a great deal of exposure to come about Obama. If you notice, outside of he and Michael's major exposure, if you like, there hasn't really been a great deal said about them. That's because they are kingpins. They are right at the very top of the corporation side of all of this. They're by no means at the top of the pyramid, but they are very big power players in all of this, and we think have been in Gitmo for some time. I haven't seen the reports of their execution, but I haven't been reading them or keeping up with them for a while now. So that may well have happened. I get a sneaking suspicion he's going to be held out, and he will be one of the great confessions that we see. Once people see Obama confess and Michael confess, then that's going to shock people, especially when he's confessing as Michael.
Yeah.
So, I think that's going to be very interesting next few weeks. And, of course, in Victoria, in Queensland, in New South Wales, I think in South Australia, everybody now is being told to mask up, mask up, mask up. Thankfully, I haven't seen too many people doing it. I did see some fool today driving around in a car with a mask on by themselves with the windows up.
Oh, it's crazy.
I saw a bloke with a face shield and a mask in a car.
Oh, by himself.
He got out, and I just started laughing at him, and he just kind of put his head down and kept walking.
Oh, they do look ridiculous.
I was at a bakery the other day, and the lady behind the bakery had a mask on, and she was Asian, and I couldn't hear her. I couldn't understand what she was saying. Couldn't lip read. I couldn't. So every time she said something to me, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, it was the hardest loaf of bread and jam donut that I bought for Laura, not for me.
Of course.
No, I bought a Neenish for me. God, it was the hardest conversation I've ever had. And I said at the end, do you have to have the mask on? Oh, yes. Very sick. I said, who's very sick? You very sick? No. All you people very sick.
Okay. So
okay, right.
Right.
Okay. No worries. Thank you.
Well, it's well in culture to wear masks, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, sure. Now, boys, I want to get onto my place. My place at your place, because that's really going to involve all of us going to somebody's place. So we're looking for places to go, I guess, is the best way to do it. So if you have a my place, and I know predominantly at the moment Victoria is where they're at. There is one in Singleton, which I think is kicking off. Cherie will kill me if I get this wrong. 4th of December, I want to say, my place Singleton is kicking off, and that sounds like it could be a good place. I know that there are a couple in New South Wales, Queensland, we might be able to get to. And there are a few popping up in regional Victoria. So we might have an opportunity to go to those. I want to throw out the idea, boys, that we might do a Christmas show from a My Place somewhere.
Okay, sounds interesting.
What are your thoughts?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I like the idea.
So all we would need would be a town who says, "Come and do Christmas with us." I don't mean Christmas Day. I just mean let's pick a date somewhere close, and let's have a Voice of Freedom Galactic Larrikin Christmas party. Special. And we might see if we can't arrange a few special guests.
Yeah.
Come on, someone from Newcastle. Come on, someone from Newcastle.
You want someone from Newcastle to come?
Oh, yeah, look, they don't have to travel far.
As long as it's better than the Star Wars Christmas special when I was a kid, because I still have nightmares about that.
Star Wars. Well, I promise there won't be a lightsaber involved.
Good.
I can't promise the entertainment's going to be flash. You guys, one of you might wind up juggling, and the other one might wind up doing stand-up jokes.
I want to be a stand-up, but I just prefer to sit.
Boom, 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 boom. So if there are folks who are interested, get a hold of Cherie at vofhq.com, and we'll see what we can do about organising a Christmas party. Now, we are going to get on the road again in the not too distant future. I'm not sure whether or not you guys are going to be coming up. We need to catch up with our friends in Hervey Bay. And Di, that means you. I've got to ring you. I've been saying that for 2 or 3 days now. And we will catch up very soon. Hopefully we'll figure out a date somewhere, end of this month, early next month, which means a week and a half, 2 weeks away. And we did have some interest from folks in Rockhampton. I haven't spoken to Cherie today to find out whether or not we've heard any more about that. But regardless, we also have to come back to New South Wales. We've got a couple of bits of interesting new equipment we've got to pick up. And the lovely Michelle, who did sing for us at our Penrith show. Remember her, guys? Absolutely amazing voice, right? I mean, she sang Barracuda, folks. My God. Amazing voice. Anyway, Michelle has a little place up towards Katoomba in the Blue Mountains. And when I say a little place, I mean it's a little place. So it's an invite-only show because I think we can only put about 50 or 60 people in there. We will figure out whether or not it's going to be a lunchtime kind of thing or an early evening thing. I'll figure that out with Michelle, but that will be around early December as well. It will be in line with when we've got to pick up a bit of new equipment. And the Galactic Larrikins hopefully will be a part of that in Katoomba. Hopefully,
I went
near there.
I went to university in Rockhampton.
Did you really?
I did. Do you think lifetime ban actually means lifetime?
We'll find out.
Mate, as long as you don't set foot on the actual ground, you should be okay. We'll just shoot it, sympathetically for you. And there are a lot of folks in Yeppoon. Now, this is how weird things are in Rockhampton. There are a lot of folks in Yeppoon who wanted to catch up too. Said, love to come to Yeppoon. I haven't been to Yeppoon since about 1990. Yep, I'd say about 1990. It was a fabulous place then. There used to be a nightclub I spent a bit of time in. It was a weird nightclub name. I can't remember it anymore. It'll come to me. At any rate, people have said, come to Yeppoon, come to Yeppoon. People in Rockhampton won't travel to shows in Yeppoon, apparently, but people in Yeppoon will travel to shows in Rockhampton. So if there is a battle to be had, please, folks, in Yeppoon or Rockhampton, battle it out fast. We can do 2 shows if you'd like. We can do Rockhampton and have a steak for dinner one night and go to Yeppoon and have a swim and stare longingly Great Keppel Island. Wondering what it's doing these days. It used to be a great place to get wrecked at.
Get wrecked.
Yeah, I arrived, unfortunately, just as it became a family island, and that didn't go so well. Getting wrecked with the family was a really bad business plan. And,
we used to have the O Week over there every year, and that was one of the things that contributed to the lifetime ban.
That would be a great reason to go to Rockhampton, I would have thought. Absolutely. Brett, thank you very much for your super sticker, mate. Appreciate it. So I'm just thinking, O Week over there, how much vomit must have gone into the sands of Great Keppel Island?
Yeah.
God.
A lot, yeah.
Oh God! The last time I saw pictures of the resort, and it was torn up. You know, it had been vandalized. It had been, you know, every window in the place was smashed. That may not have been vandals. That might have been strong winds or a cyclone or something came through. I don't know. But yeah, really, really trashed. And the owners of the island were struggling to figure out how to make it, you know, viable again. I believe it has opened up again to tourists and paying customers. It opened up just before COVID, so it may not open again now. Who knows? Might be all wrecked again. But be interesting to go and have a look and swim in Keppel Bay, Roslyn Bay. I think those are the two main bays around Yeppoon. So that, and if you're further north, hey, I don't know. We're happy to go a bit further north, aren't we? We could go to Airlie Beach. We could go to Bowen. We could go to Mackay, Townsville, Cairns, Innisfail.
Yes, resorts that have been wrecked. I last time I saw there were at least two resorts which aren't operating in the Whitsunters. I think Lindeman and South Mole, I believe, both wrecked by cyclones, and they didn't have insurance or something, so they couldn't rebuild.
They just can't get insurance. The insurance companies just won't cover them anymore.
Yeah.
So.
That sucks.
When I was driving up there last year, a few times, we'd drive through this particular area before you get to Serena, sort of between Marlborough and Serena, and it's like somebody's come through with a couple of big, you know, D10 bulldozers and a chain and felled all this wood, all these trees. Couldn't figure out why. It took about 3 trips for me to figure out it was a bloody cyclone that had brought it all down. And it was amazing, the damage. Even today, I don't know how long ago the cyclone was. I suspect it was one of those really big ones from, you know, maybe 10 years ago. But God, the amount of damage, and it's ripped a swathe a couple of kilometres long and wide through and across the highway. Yeah, so interesting little things we can stop along and have a bit of a chat about on the road. Love to see all that, because folks drive past that sort of stuff every day. There's also a whole heap of really interesting Australian war memorials along the road, and emplacements, battle emplacements, gun emplacements, all sorts of old things that are along the highway that I'd certainly never heard of before. So you never know, we might make quite a little road trip out of it and see how it goes. It'll all depend. The folks might have to help us fill the fuel. I mean, your Fiesta's not too bad, Rob, but that bloody van of yours, I don't know, Bradford. Jeez.
Yeah, and it's diesel too, so it's twice as expensive.
Yeah, I know. You and me both, brother. We're both diesel heads. And Mark, well, you're going to have to ride with somebody because we all know your car's not going to make it anyway.
It's been stuck in the mechanic for 6 months.
Oh, I know. So the next leading question is, do you recommend the mechanic?
Yeah, he's cool. He's got it's since we think it's because the insurance, when I crashed it a couple of years ago, the insurance hasn't fixed it properly. And now I'm waiting for that whole process to go through, but it's just taking forever.
It is.
I'm hoping I'm getting a new tire out of it maybe eventually, but
oh, fingers crossed.
In the meantime, I crashed the other one, and it's just never ends, man.
There seems to be a theme popping up here, Mark.
It does. Yeah.
That's not. I promise it's not because of me. I promise.
You said you crashed the car twice.
No, I didn't crash. Oh yeah, well, the first one I was just driving home from the beach, and I was 100 k's on the highway, and it just started raining, and the road must have just been super duper slippery kind of thing. I was just driving in a straight line. Next thing you know, 360 into a rail.
Oh,
wow, that'll do it.
Yep,
So,
that'll do it. Yeah.
And
well, first rains after summer, always.
Yeah.
The roads are slick, always very, very slick. And I've seen that happen on plenty of highways up here in Queensland too. Happens a lot. So another thing, folks, be safe on the roads. Don't be dickheads. Remember that. I'm pretty happy that we're going to be going ahead with a few more shows with the Voice of Freedom and the Galactic Larrikins coming on. Hoping, Mark, understand you've got a business and you have to look after that, but we hope, you'll be able to play a role on the road with us too. We're looking forward to getting around and seeing as many people as possible in as many areas as possible. So we would love to do a My Place at Your Place every Saturday. I think that's our goal, to do a My Place at Your Place every Saturday. And if we can fill in the days of the week going around to other My Places, then, that'll be great. But if not, we might just pull up at a war memorial somewhere and do a show. There are always great and interesting things about towns. If you've got a little bit of history, if you've got a little tourism thing you want us to push, then we'd love to come to town, just do a few stories on it, tell the history of your town and what's happening. So bring it on. Let us know at vofhq.com. You can get a hold of Cherie or you can get a hold of me. And very shortly, you will be able to get a hold of the Galactic Larrikins at vofhq.com as well. If I haven't set it up already, I can't remember. I think I did. I just may not have told you guys. So we are very keen to see as many people as possible at those shows. And, if we can help you get a bit of a laugh, find a bit of information, then glad we can help. That's what it's all about. Lifting people up and giving them a bit of hope. It's been one of those weeks, hasn't it, guys, where hope has been hard to come by initially. But I think, given a little bit of time to reflect on what was said in the speech on the 15th, and given some of the other actions that are happening in the world at the moment, we're going to be pushed close to a third world war. It's going to be a lot closer than we have been so far. So don't get too worried about that. We've been told we need to get to that event. And how far away from that do you think we are, boys?
God, I'd never
How
say
long
dates.
is a piece of string?
Never say dates.
Yeah.
Always good.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to disappoint because I think it's a longer process. I think we're in for a longer time.
Not enough awake yet.
Yeah, I want to process. We've changed the direction of humanity, and
I think
on the right path.
I think if we add up all the little things that are happening, we've come a long way in a short period of time. That's for sure. Yeah.
Especially when we've been doing this whole conspiracy thing for 30 years. So for us, this is happening really, really quickly.
fast. Yeah.
So
and also see the paradigm shift. So back in the 90s when we were following Alex Jones, and he was then first talking about Epstein and the island, and he was the one who coined the term the Lolita Express and all that sort of stuff. If you tried to tell people about it back then, they all thought you were crazy. Now it's on mainstream like Joe Rogan and all these things, and it's openly talked about now and accepted. So there's been a huge paradigm shift change in the mentality of people. And
one of the big things with the paradigm shift at the moment that I'm seeing that I think is going to end up blowing up into a much bigger thing is we've got people in the like we've just had the tradies a few tradies in Sydney win court cases against the mandates, saying they're going to get back pay, they're going to get their jobs back.
Yep.
Which now that's setting precedents for a whole lot of things going on. I'm one of 1,500 people in Red Union. I hope Red Union. We've heard some few bad things about Red Union, but I hope they're doing the right thing for the people out there. I've just put in a human rights claim against my old company because I was a disability carer who got terminated my job after working through the whole pandemic. And we've now put in a human rights claim, and I'm one of 1,500 people. So with any luck, we can see a few people win some court cases. We've seen a few over in America. We've seen a few all around the world now, and they're going to start adding up. And once we see that start kicking in, things like that kick in, that's real world stuff that's going to wake people up and show not only that people were wronged, but what they were saying was right, and that what they stood for was the right thing. And it's going to show all those companies out there that said, you do what I say, we don't care, you'll be in the streets, whatever. Show them that they did the wrong thing and that they now need to make up for what they did, not only with monetary actions and that kind of stuff, but they're going to have to walk the walk and talk the talk amongst everybody now, and really are they good people? Can they admit they were wrong, and can they walk forward with us, with the movement, with the people that have been trying to help from the start? And that's where I think the paradigm shift could really kick in, things like that. But yeah, that's one big one for me. Like I was amazed to see those wins. I couldn't believe it. That's why I'm a lawnmower man now, because I had to do what I had to do, and I've been doing that for over a year now, and I'm making my way. But to just have 10 years of my life stripped away from me for nothing, and then people just now tell me to forget about it. Like the media was literally running propaganda saying, forget about it, let's move on.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to move on, and we're now starting to see some really cool results.
Yeah, that is exciting news. I also saw out of New South Wales. Now, I haven't had time to check this, so take this as a what you will at the moment. I don't know that it's 100% true or not. Where is it? Maybe I haven't brought it in yet. Give me 1 second. So this popped up today. New South Wales has become the first state in the country to criminalise coercive control. From today, repeated abusive behaviour with the intent to coerce or control will carry a sentence of up to 7 years in jail. If you or someone you know needs help, 24/7 support is available at. Coercive control is now an offence in New South Wales. Now, I haven't had time to check if that's actually real yet, but would that not place every doctor and nurse in New South Wales in a great deal of trouble? And business. And every business owner who has forced their staff to keep their job.
Because remember, that's how they played the game. Remember, Scotty Morrison came out and said, we can't mandate it. But
that's right. Businesses
can.
Business can. Yeah.
So
now,
now
quick shout out to Aussie Cossack who snagged Alan Joyce during the week. That was hilarious.
That was hilarious.
That was really wonderful, wasn't it? I don't know what Alan Joyce expected. I think at the start of it, he expected it was going to be quite a jovial thing, but Cossack clearly. And I watched the one where he wandered into the Medicare office and tried to give the woman there $1. He obviously brings a PA system into the building with him.
Yeah, he did.
So that's obviously because his microphone isn't working well on the camera or whatever. But I thought that was hilarious. And then the hackers sent him an email congratulating him on his video.
That's right.
That's
That
hilarious.
was interesting. Yeah.
So, I mean, are we taking bets on how long the Aussie Cossack's going to either wind up in jail for this time, or are they going to give him a visa? Is he going to be allowed to leave the country? Can they get him out of here fast enough? I think it's hilarious. Good luck to him. He's doing an awesome job. Cossack is doing an awesome job, and I owe him a phone call. So yeah, they've got a big thing happening in Sydney tomorrow, and I think it's happening all around the country tomorrow. Are you guys participating in that?
Saturday. Oh, that's right. Tomorrow.
I'd forgotten about it. Been night shift work for the last 2 days, so yeah, I lose track of days.
That'll make you go a bit wiggly. What about West Australia, guys? The Sea Gypsy here has had this question up for a little while. What about Western Australia? I mean, there are some new bills being put forward there. Some of the most restrictive conditions anywhere in Australia, certainly in our history, and I would go so far as to say pretty much in the world. These conditions, this ability to come into your house, seize your property, seize you, jab you. Yeah. They are writing laws now and talking about passing them now in Western Australia that will allow them to grab a hold of you, hold you down, and have you forcibly vaxxed.
It's terrible.
So some of those controls seem to have come straight out of Victoria's playbook. That would be what they would be doing now if they weren't in election mode.
Yeah.
There is a strong line of thought at the moment that Dan Andrews and McGowan are being controlled by somebody in Canberra. And that somebody in Canberra has the last name of Rockefeller. Yeah. So you blokes got a neighbour you haven't been telling me about?
Don't know. But Dan Andrews is definitely, he was World Economic Forum. Yeah. Remember, he went to the, he was groomed up by them. Yeah. So maybe McGowan, has anyone looked into him? Maybe probably the same thing. Or he's
probably the same thing, yeah.
Controlled.
Thank you to Alex and Kanga Collins and Sue. Project Matilda. G'day, Daniel. Daniel's giving us $5 tonight. Thank you, mate. That's lovely of you. Project Matilda, if you haven't got onto it, folks, go and check it out. ProjectMatilda.com is the address. Go and sign up. You can pretty much be guaranteed you'll see everything that comes out of all of the freedom speakers who've got a site there. It's not going to be taken down like YouTube will do. Probably quite likely with this one at some stage because we've been talking about medical things. Bruce, thank you very much for your sticker too. And Sunflower, as always, a godsend. Boys, it's going to be an interesting week. We're going to have maybe another chat Tuesday or Wednesday of next week because I think the landscape is going to change dramatically. Particularly the Victorian government or election landscape, and quite potentially the world landscape is going to change in the next couple of days. There is a lot of interesting noise about China and about Asia being forced to follow either China or America. The CCP have been very strong in influence in large portions of Asia, but they gain that influence in ways that don't win friends. So people that are coming through and offering an alternative to Chinese control, I think are being greeted very warmly at the moment. I have friends in the Philippines, and I can tell you that there are navies outside of China's there at the moment, and a lot of very formal discussions going on with the government there. So might see something more out of that in the next little while. Of course, that's interesting because they're very close to the South China Sea as well. So,
Old Xi Jinping gave True Dodo Bird a bit of a dressing down.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about that.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I didn't see it.
Oh, well, like the G20.
G20, that's right. Yeah.
Biden had to go to bed early. He didn't even make the dinner.
Yeah, I heard.
He called a lid on the whole thing and had to go to bed early.
The battery went flat.
Something like that. And yeah, go ahead, Mark. Yeah, Xi Jinping goes up to Trudeau.
Oh yeah, Xi Jinping goes up to Trudeau and says, the things we discussed have been leaked to the media, and that's completely inappropriate. Yeah. And it's all said to him through an interpreter, and the interpreter's kind of there's a bloke just walks up with a camera and just films the whole thing. The interpreter steps out of the way so the bloke can get a better shot.
Sure.
Yeah. And Trudeau kind of tries to step up to him a bit and says, "Oh well, yeah, that's cool, but like we're going to have a few things that I need to say, and you're just going to have to deal with it, kind of thing. And he just goes, look, mate, the agreement is the agreement, and you stick to it. And then I'm paraphrasing here, and then Trudeau just kind of puts his head down, walks off, and literally exits the building like a little schoolboy, tail between his legs, runs off. And you can see the whole interaction. You can just see that Xi is just the alpha, and Trudeau is just the little shit kicker that's being told what to do. It was pretty cool. Look it up, Carl, if you haven't seen it. Look it up.
I'll definitely go and have a look. Yeah, definitely go and have a look. I'm looking forward to hearing more about China and Russia over the coming weeks. I think we're going to see many rats jumping the ship, as Adam is saying. Yep, rats are jumping the ship, and Trudeau's certainly a rat. We've got no problems with that. Now, hang on here.
I thought it was very interesting too, because he must have done something bad, because he's been pumping Chinese policies through Canada. Just he literally sits there and says China's the best. China's the best. So whatever he did, he's done something pretty bad. He's obviously leaked way too much stuff to the media that's supposed to be, because he took his oath to keep the Queen's secrets, but he's obviously didn't take an oath to keep Xi's secrets. So
clearly. And Xi might still be upset because there was a big deal, a big car deal that the Chinese had. America wouldn't buy cars from China, but they would buy cars from Canada. So Canada were buying or having shipped to them lots and lots of Chinese cars, and they were fitting the boot lids to them. And that meant that they were made in Canada and then could be shipped across the border.
Oh, wow.
And Trump came in and shut that down. So that might have been the opening gambit from memory now, when he first came to town. Interesting times ahead, folks. Interesting times ahead. Have you noticed that the bloke who isn't doing any talking at all is Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Watch this space. I think it's going to be interesting when he does start to talk, because when he does talk, he just throws out bombshell after bombshell. It's just like truth after truth after truth. And I think, the American thing that's going on at the moment with Trump, once that becomes a little clearer, and a few more, of the unawake have their eyes peeled open, we're going to see a lot more from them. So interesting times ahead. It's going to be a good week. So we'll try and catch up one day next week, eh?
Yeah.
Yep.
I look forward to it. Mark, you'll have to have a shower, obviously, because
I just had one. I swear.
Don't want you coming in all covered in grass clippings and shit. Folks, the website.
Can I say one thing about Putin, what he says, on some of the things he says? I watched one of his speeches, one of the last ones that he said, which was, a couple of weeks ago. One of the very interesting Easter egg that he's put in there was he spoke about the golden, how the Georgia Guidestones had the 500 million people for the total population of the earth.
Yeah.
He said the golden billion.
Oh.
And he said, you might have to go back through and find it, but he spoke about the golden billion that the elites want to take the earth to. And I just thought, I was like, wow, I can't believe he said that.
Yeah.
Which shows so much into depopulation, what they've been doing to us with all the trying to make sure everyone's getting sick and doing whatever. It just shows, like, if that guy, he knows some stuff, he's that high up and he's putting out those kinds of lines. I was amazed. I was just like, wow, I can't believe he said that. That was amazing.
500,000 to a billion is also they're having problems with inflation as well.
Well, go and invest in gold and silver. You got no problems with inflation.
That's it.
Yeah, I hear tell there's a great video on gold and silver on my channel.
Well, I've heard Ainsley Bullion look after their customers really well too.
And Ainsley Bullion, marvelous looking after their customers. In fact, there were a number of them in there. I think they thought that I was wheeling in cases of gold or silver, because all of the camera cases and gear was all packed in hard cases, and I brought it in on a trolley. The only thing I wasn't wearing was an officious-looking badge and a gun. So yeah, people made, we'll let this fella out of the way. Oh, that must be very heavy, you know. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, get mugged on the way out.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I walked out with the same gear I walked in with, and none of it gained any value. While I was there, everybody else walked out with something of a bit more value than that. So, but I've got to say, it was a really interesting experience to sit down and talk with Paul about the different bars and why you pay more for certain things, like a normal, 1 ounce ingot, for instance, is one price. A stackable ingot is a different price. It's a bit more expensive. Why is it that way? The coins, for instance, why is a 1 ounce coin worth more than a 1 ounce ingot? And the answer to most of that is in the detail, but go and check the video out on Nun2K. It hasn't been uploaded on the other channels. It's just on Nun2K. So that's the YouTube channel, NUNN2K, and you'll find it there. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on and joining me on your Friday night. Really appreciate it. And I'm a bit disappointed that I'm the only one having a drink. So,
my vodka.
I mean, sucking on a slushy.
See, now in Newcastle, that used to have a whole different meaning.
Yeah.
I've been slipping the Parmesan cheese out of the carpet.
Oh, well, geez, you've been fighting Neo for it, have you?
By the way, we saw a good movie during the week called My Son Hunter. My Son Hunter. Brilliant film.
Excellent. Really
if you
good
get
stuff.
A chance, got to watch it. It's hilarious.
Bloody funny.
It's actually a
Where
comedy.
did you find that? Where did you find that?
It's,
I think Daily Wire or whatever that one, whatever Ben Shapiro's channel thing is.
Yeah.
They put it out, whatever
Daily
it is.
Wire.
The other Larrikin, good old Quacker had it. So, we got to watch it. It's definitely worth the money, whatever it is, $20 to spend.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious. They've taken all the pop culture, all the sayings and all the stuff we've been
all
seeing.
The quotes from Biden
and Hunter and everything and all the
corn
stuff.
pipe and all that.
Yeah.
What's that?
Brilliant.
Corn pop.
And my rusty
Corn
chain.
pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chain. Yeah. It is very funny.
It's definitely funny.
And it just drops all these truth bombs all
the
the
whole
way
thing
through
is just, the corruption.
Excellent.
We
all right.
But for the normie, it's a brilliant film.
Yeah, definitely.
Should we tell people too that well, we haven't really talked about it. Maybe we won't tell people about it. I was going to mention the Larrikin Voices show idea, and how we might take a bit of a look at some of the memes that are popping up, particularly from the very creative crews here in Australia, who have been taking it to a number of freedom fighters, not just the main ones. I think I get a mention in one of them. I was very, very, very chuffed to receive a mention in one of them. There are some really creative. I mean, they do these things to try and hurt you, and some people get their nose out of joint. I love them. I love creative people doing creative shit, and if that's taking the piss out of me, then more power to you. And I'm happy to promote the hell out of you for doing it, because I think it's funny. So I think we should have maybe we can choose a time and have a show where we have a look at the memes of the world going around that week. What do you reckon, boys?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, I know that.
Just a quick shout out to CPN, who's normally a regular viewer of this channel. I haven't actually noticed it for today, but their YouTube channel is definitely worth checking out. It's full of short clips. There's a couple of you, Carl. I don't know if you've seen. Ricardo and others. It's definitely a channel worth checking out. And they've got bugger all subscribers and views, so it's a little treasure that you need to get into.
CPN.
CPN. It stands for Christian Prosecution News.
News. Yeah.
CP News.
CP News. Yeah.
So I think it's CP News.
That makes a bit more sense to me now. I hadn't realised that that's who that was. Yes, that makes a lot more sense to me now. Yes. So I haven't seen CPN in tonight at all, actually. So,
no, I haven't seen him or her. I'm not sure.
Yeah, must be having a night off.
Check out the Galactic.
Thank you.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good.
Good.
Almost to subscribers.
We got a viral video during the week. That was pretty cool.
You did too. Now listen, Neo the Wonder Dog. Is he safe? Is he happy? Is he hurt?
He's fine, mate. He's here lying on the ground. He's recovered well. He's a tough dog.
Yeah.
He's
lucky his big buff head.
Yeah.
You want to explain for those folks who haven't seen it yet? I wonder if I can go to your channel and we can play it. Am I allowed to play it? Is that?
Yeah. Of course you can. You can download it and put it on your channel if you want. We don't care.
I just don't know whether or not. I can't even run search these days for some reason. Do it. Oh, I know why. Because I'm not working inside YouTube. That'll make it a bit harder.
Yeah.
Let me try it this time. So just set this up for us. You guys were out working.
Yeah, well, this is at the Tent Embassy, and we were there just seeing what was going on, reporting, as we do. What did Ricardo say? Accurately reporting history is what we do. And there's one of the Tent Embassy people who think they own the place came down and told all the white people that we weren't welcome and we had to leave, which we thought was a bit racist, but who are we to judge? And so she's walking around telling everyone to piss off, and Neo was tied up. He was all right. And he was very happy to see what was going on, as he always is, wagging his tail. And she walked towards him. So, unfortunately, I haven't trained him the best with jumping up. And he sort of, wanted to jump up and say hello. She walked into him and just kneed him in the guts, kneed him in the chin. And
I've got it here. Let's have a look. There we go.
Nobody knows what you're talking about. Literally no one. All these white people are not welcome. Yes, they are. I don't know what the fuck. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Literally no one.
Wow.
You couldn't dramatize that anymore, could you?
Actually only took him once, not 3 times. And he didn't whine like that. He's tough. He doesn't make those sounds.
Yes. So we should have a caption under there. Sound effects may have been added for effect.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. At any rate, Neo's okay. What happened to that young lady?
The Irish girl, we were confused why this young Irish girl was telling everyone that no white people were allowed.
She looked more Greek. She looked a bit Greek too, I thought.
But anyway, red hair, blue eyes. I thought she was Irish.
She was calling us colonists. Like we
don't know really.
I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, really? Very.
I'm a Ngunnawal boy. I was born here in Canberra, so I'm probably got more entitlement to that place than she does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently, what the aunties were telling us that they get quite a bit of money from the government for maintaining that. They call pay the rent or something or other. So I think they're a bit worried that some of their
income,
their livelihood was under threat.
Definitely.
We recall the fact that they're paid to be there and maintain it and do it, and they weren't there.
And they weren't there. We walked around. There was nobody in there. Not even the caretaker. Apparently, he was off to lunch or something. But there was absolutely.
I've watched your videos, and the Tent Embassy area looks to be rather unkempt.
Oh,
it's
it's great.
And it doesn't look like it's just a couple of days unkempt. Like there's weeds growing in places where you wouldn't have expected to find them. And if these people are being paid to look after the site, what are they actually doing?
Yeah,
exactly.
I think that was part of the point. And also the fact that why one family has control over it, rather it should be a representative of all Indigenous tribes, clans, mobs, I think they call them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was upsetting was that they told Auntie Glenda to F off, you know, and she is a genuine nunna-law woman.
Yeah,
she was, you know,
she was telling us some of her family stories, and it was very confronting and eye-opening.
Yeah.
Yes. I've heard today Auntie Glenda's under a bit of pressure from her involvement in what happened there last weekend. There have been threats made to her family from police. She has got some issues with her father at the moment, in that a very healthy man has attracted the attention of the health agencies who, because he's reached a certain age, hasn't drunk, hasn't smoked in 40 or 50 odd years. Nothing wrong with him. They want him to go in and have a health check with a view to putting him into a home. Now, he's being cared for, by family on a daily basis. He lives by himself, but somebody from the family is there every day checking on him, including Auntie Glenda, who lives with him for 3 or 4 days a week. She's under a bit of pressure there at the moment with what's going on, and to be treated like she was on the weekend, I think, is pretty appalling, considering that, like you say, boys, there's one family in control there, and they seem to be very, very protective of whatever it is they do. As they're being paid by the government, we must be able to find out how much they're being funded. So maybe that should be our next starting point, do you think?
How many of them are being funded?
How many of them are being funded?
Mm.
And what are the terms of the funding?
That's right. That's right. Are they meant to be looking after the place?
Because
there was only one guy there who was the caretaker.
He wasn't even there.
He wasn't even there. Yeah.
And hasn't pulled any weeds. The sacred fire, I think, was just about out. It didn't look like a ferocious sort of a fire at all. Mind you, probably do some good roast spuds in it and tin foil. Maybe get the camp oven out.
Yeah.
It should be a place for all Australians. You should be able to bring your caravan there, so send your tent up there. White, black, brindle, shouldn't matter. If you were born here, that's part of our land. And the infighting that's going on, particularly with our black brothers and sisters, is really concerning. If you can't get your shit in the pile, folks, don't be complaining about it when somebody else comes in and cleans it up. And I think that's a great analogy for what's going on with the tent embassy at the moment. The shit isn't in a pile and somebody's coming in to clean it up. Now, whether or not they succeed remains to be seen. But, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
It would be nice to see different tribes or mobs come together and work something out for the space. And there's a great opportunity for them to promote their culture and whatever they're protesting, whatever it is, if it was done correctly. But at the moment, it's just a toxic eyesore. Toxic eyesore,
Yeah.
They're not win anyone over.
They're not doing anyone any favors at all.
No.
They're not doing themselves any favors. They really aren't. And I remember I used to work at Parliament House, Old Parliament House, which is right across the road from the embassy, and it was great. You could go over there, and there were elders there. You could sit down and you could talk to, and they could tell you all about the dream time and all the rest of that stuff. Probably, they would probably be indoctrinating as well. But
that's propaganda. That's all right.
That's all right. But at least they were friendly and they were approachable. The people that we saw the other day were rude, aggressive, and after we left, apparently there were threats of violence as well.
So
right? That's not. Yeah. So, and that's why they left. That's why all the Canberra guys here left, because They didn't want to get in a fight. That's not what they
Yeah.
were there for. These guys are peaceful protesters. They've
Yeah.
always been peaceful.
Yeah.
So they're not going to be. They don't want to get involved in any sort of altercation.
Yeah.
So they left.
Yeah.
But yeah, they need more fella support. That's what they need. If they're gonna do this, if they're gonna retake it or whatever the term is, then they need a lot more Indigenous fellas and ladies there to support. Yeah.
Yes, and I believe that the elders, at least all the elders considered to be appropriate and important, were all brought to Canberra last February and all had the opportunity to speak, and if you like, spoke as one. That land was for all. You know, held their fingers up for one people. For all people, we are one people.
Yeah, that's right.
So clearly this family and maybe a few others have missed that message from the elders that were collected from all around Australia in a four-wheel drive bus and brought to Canberra over the course of a month or so. That bus toured around and picked up elders from remote locations all over the country and brought them to Australia, brought them to Canberra. And if there were a bunch of elders that have to say, then they are they, and that was their message. We are one people. So I hope that that message starts to sink in, because it's certainly what the majority of us believe, and the sooner we can come together, the sooner we can get rid of these corrupt bastards running the joint, and life will be better for everybody. Absolutely better. Gentlemen, thank you again. A wonderful, wonderful evening of interesting chat, and I'm sure there'll be more of it next week. So look forward to catching you up then, boys.
Likewise.
Sounds great.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us, mate.
Pleasure.
No worries. The Galactic Larrikins always. And you can check out their channel too, folks, on YouTube, Galactic Larrikins. You can check out that video of Neo copping the knee to the chin. No, it wasn't a bad knee or anything like that. The boys have taken some creative license there, so don't go and get too concerned about Neo. He's a tough dog. There's going to be some interesting stuff happen over the weekend, I'm sure, so I will endeavour to keep you up to speed with that over the weekend. If you are on the roads, be safe, folks. Doesn't matter where you are. It's going to be a bit slippery in some places. It's going to be bloody hot in others. So brings out the dickheads either way. Just make sure you're not being out there and on the roads, being one of them. It's the safest way to go. Enjoy yourself, and thanks for watching tonight. Thank you to those folks who donated in the super chat, and you can donate at vofhq.com. All the money that you donate, we use to get on the road, and with the Galactic Larrikins coming on the road too, it just increases the mouths to feed and the fuel to pay. But we hope to, greatly enhance the quality of broadcast in the not too distant future, and really look forward to having you along for that ride too. VoFHQ.com. We will have some T-shirt news shortly. People are available, going to the website and trying to order T-shirts at the moment. We'll have some new designs up for you very soon, and hopefully a new way of shipping them to you. So it cuts me out completely. All you do is go through the website, tell us what size you want, and somebody will send it to you. Works out really well. Have a great weekend, and talk to you over it when earth-shattering things start happening. Be good, be safe. See ya.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!